There's a huge difference now to startup because in the past, you would have a vision, you have an idea what you want to build. Is the solution, what is it that this team member needs to do a better job, a more efficient job, and actually spend less time being really manual. Just because those products can create a beautiful looking interface doesn't necessarily mean that it works well. Hang on, why are we fighting when there's this group here that actually want it?
3, 2, 1. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Digital Nexus podcast. This is episode 34. It's been hard to keep track of all of these, been so many things happening, but we are here in a really awesome studio and we've got a great guest here, Charmaine. Charmaine, thanks for joining.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Chris is going to be on soon as well, but I'm going to start off with some interviews, the interview questions that we're going to have. There's been a whole lot of really interesting events. We've been to a few, like the Gen AI Labs one that's been on recently, and we're doing this new version of the Digital Nexus podcast to bring on people that are working, either consulting, developing, supporters, associations, people running events even in this space, because there's a whole lot of Aussie innovation, a great number of founders in this space, and we need their voice heard. So even though you're injured,
yeah, I can still talk.
I think that we can get the AI to cut that part out, or maybe have it blend somehow. But yeah, we've got some really great guests lined up. So thank you for being the first, the guinea pig, maybe.
One.
Yeah, number one. That's a better way to put it.
I'm a good experiment.
Very much so. And it'll be interesting to see for people to hear more about Friday and also Wakey Wakey, the cool things that you guys are doing there in both. But I just wanted to start off with by welcoming you, and obviously we're here in our cool studio.
And I wipe my face on that.
We
I think I need to be on one of them.
Well, do you want something like that, or do you want one of these?
No, I want one of those.
Yeah, the chibi pets. We're gonna do something like that pretty soon.
I think
We'll do that for all our guests.
I've got AI envy.
They're behind you while you're talking.
AI envy now though.
AI envy is
I
real.
want one of those.
Yeah, Chris with the camera there, looking like. Yeah, exactly.
I think you should. I think each guest needs one, without a doubt.
Are we pausing, or are we? Okay.
This is fine. This is all part of it.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Okay, cool. So anyways, we will do that. Just coming back to it though, but we just want to get a bit about your background.
Yeah.
Before Friday, you were working, and we knew you from Stone and Chalk and the work you were doing there.
Yeah.
But how did you get into all this tech stuff? Where does it start?
Okay, so it starts with graphic design in the days when there were no computers.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
For the people out there, collective wow.
So it's graphic design, which is all about, understanding how people work and what people want, and consulting, as well as just pure creating an image for people, right? So graphic design to brand, to strategy, to then shifting to building apps, iOS apps, because suddenly, you can't just stay on paper anymore and just websites.
Yeah.
And then shifting into digital transformation, and then now into AI, which was almost 3 years ago when ChatGPT showed up.
November 22.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if I look back at what I've been doing, the main thing would be that every time there's been a huge evolution in where our technology is going, graphic design and design is a huge space that gets disrupted.
Yeah.
Right? It's big. And I think that you've just got to go along with the journey. Because, can you imagine if I was still on paper?
Maybe.
And in paper?
It's artisanal, isn't it? I see some people doing some stuff, maybe not graphic design, but in terms of writing and their artwork and stuff like that, and poetry, and just writing it on paper as a unique thing versus just having it spat out or written on computer. So
that's a really interesting point, right? So we've gone from this kind of artisan crafts person to a curator, right? I think in AI now, where you still need to know what looks good, but I think we're going to be spending more time curating rather than creating from. I still think creating from scratch happens. I think it's amazing.
There is hope. Yep.
But I think overall, more people are curating now.
Yeah.
And that expertise is still important. So the art director, even though he may not be spending 80% of his time in a studio creating imagery with photographers and so forth, he now has to understand what a good image looks like, whether it's AI created or generated or Yes, I think it's really shifting, but you still have to know what looks good,
Oh, exactly.
right? The
Yeah.
expertise is still important.
You said curator there, but like in other industries, it could be you still need to, you're more like a project manager, or in other industries, you're more like the editor or the manager
Yeah.
and stuff. And it is this shifting up of
Yeah.
the knowledge curve. Like we don't, like, you know, we use calculators on our devices or spreadsheets. We don't go out there, and sure, it's a good skill to learn to know math,
Yeah.
but you can get by because you've got the tools
Yeah.
now. But you still, like you said, you still need to know
How it works.
how it works. You're expert.
Yeah.
You still have to have that expertise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what would be really interesting is, and I know there's conversations about juniors getting roles in businesses.
Yeah.
The question is, how's it going to change where juniors
Mm,
come in, or it's harder for a junior to come in
yeah.
to learn? I think that's going to be interesting because
The-
we need
yeah.
to build up their skills, right?
Yeah. How are they going to learn
Good.
if they don't get the experience?
Yeah.
It's a catch-22. Like,
Yeah.
is there more that needs to be done from the university side? Is there more that needs to be done from the business side, that
Yeah.
entry point? Like, we can't just get rid of and not have
No.
anyone hired, because we'll all get older and stuff, and then no one's going to do the work. So there has to be
Yeah.
like a nice middle ground, but I think it's got to be collaborative in terms of how
Yeah.
it's worked out. But it's a conundrum.
Yep. And whether companies are going to hire juniors, but they're probably more going to do like middle jobs. I don't know. I have a joke at home running with my daughter, she's doing civil engineering, right? And they're learning all about all the core things about civil engineering, how steel works and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But I said to her, I know that when you get a job, there's going to be programs and tools that will calculate that the way that curve is going to break
Yeah.
and tense. But I still am kind of glad that you know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how can she get that role to actually, because maybe I don't know, this whole junior thing is just really interesting.
It is a
Don't hate
scary
yourself.
kind of time, and it's certainly something we want to dive into. And I guess being at the forefront of what you got your family, and so you're seeing what
Yeah.
the juniors in your family. You're thinking of like a workplace, your kids, but also like clients as well that are starting to embrace this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the work that you're doing with Frye,
Yeah.
and if you can just give us like a high level, what is Frye? What is Wakey Wakey as well, so that we can just set the scene as to like where you're from, like what are you doing now basically?
Yeah. So we've had a really, look, it's been a really, really awesome journey from starting, which was 2 years ago, to now. And because of what we could do with generative AI, we just went, this is going to change the way everyone works. So we jumped in saying we need to really understand how it can change and how it's going to affect companies, because we come from digital transformation backgrounds, consulting backgrounds, and design backgrounds. So we still do some consulting, and that's been what you said. It's been really interesting. I think, to talk about what we're seeing now versus what we saw 2 years ago and what's happening. I think there's a shift. But the other thing too is also how people like us, startup, small business, whatever you want to call us, can actually get products out in the market, which is completely different to 3 years ago, where, or whatever the model was, got to find a tech lead, got to get a tech founder.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that tech founders aren't important anymore, but you can now build without having to have a tech founder and get your product in market, tested to see if people actually want it. And then, and that whole idea of build while you're flying. And that's a huge shift. So Frye, we will do consulting for companies that are really interested in wanting to AI augment their processes, and we all know why, because of the efficiencies, freeing up people to do better work, as well as we'll do proof of concepts, we'll do service designs, understand that. And then on top of that, we also have another product we called Wakey Wakey Sales, and that is an SMS AI assistant that will
SMS AI.
yeah, so it will turbocharge. Well, it's SMS, it'll be email soon, and it'll be voice. At the moment, it's SMS because people answer to SMSs, right? No one really picks up calls, and most people ignore emails. So it's a very effective channel. But that was one example of where we could see a really strong need. It was a really awesome fit for what AI could do and can do now. And we just knew that a lot of small businesses need that help. So that's one of our big focuses, is smaller companies, SMEs, that we know need a lot of help to uplift what they can do with the resources that they have, which is usually limited.
It's interesting because that kind of company. First of all, just going back to the SMS stuff, like Arturo and I, my colleague at Null Centralize, we have this belief that unless we're talking to people about doing deals and like working with them via like WhatsApp or Telegram or something, it's harder to, because like at least we can have like a nice easy conversation that isn't so formal with the email. Sure, we'll have contracts, we'll go through things in terms of things that need to be sent via email, but in terms of just having conversations about the projects, it's so much easier to just have a text-based one. And if there's a tool out there that I can just SMS with, like, I'm certainly interested in all of that. So we should show people that. But then the other thing is, in terms of like the types of businesses that you're working with, like, there's big businesses, and this used to be only the domain of big businesses to get change like this. Well, if you can now rapidly prototype, develop, and bring solutions to market as a smaller entity in your industry, the whole game changes.
So I think what you just said was exactly right. Now, small businesses have the tools and the ability to have the same capability as large organizations, which before they couldn't. And they're not expensive, right? They're like $20 per month US. But you have access to those tools now. I think the difference is where we can, like what you do, not centralized, and what we do is that we're focused on it, right? Most small businesses don't have the time though, and I think that's the difference. They are working because they do whatever they do, whether they're procurement consultants, specialists, or whether they're even when it comes to like one of our customers, for example, he does pest control, right? Now, he uses Wakey Wakey Sales to get all his bookings for his customers. Because one, he doesn't have the time. And two, it scales him because he's only like a one guy, two guy business. So I think the main difference here is that he can now have access to that, but he doesn't necessarily have the time to do it himself. I think there's businesses that will, some of them, maybe they're a bit larger, and they'll invest in the resources to focus on it. But I think a lot of companies right now don't. And that's where I think we can help people because we can say, look, we can help you here. We can help you create this. We can do these sales for you. And you don't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the benefit of it, basically.
Yeah, I think that's the real key there. It's finding the balance that works right for the company. Some will have more involvement in this process and be able to get more hands-on with the AI, and others, it's going to be a little bit different. They want to just focus on other things and offset that with a group or services that can provide that. We're going to get more into details about Freye, Wakey Wakey, and other things in terms of AI adoption trends with my colleague Chris. So I'll hand over to him now.
Okay, see ya.
All right.
Thank you for the handover, Mark. Charmaine, so awesome to have a chat with you.
I kind of feel a bit special. I get you both
separately as well.
Separately,
individual by ourselves.
It smells like magic.
Yeah, exactly right.
Are you going to just drop me in?
Transition. Here we are, two separate. We're the same person, actually. We're just blended.
I wouldn't have noticed.
Blended skin color, height, size.
Everything.
The reason I'm so excited to have a chat with you, especially, is because you and I share a very similar sort of career. Sort of in terms of what we love to do. CX is a big part of the world that we're in. And obviously bringing AI into the types of things that we're doing in our work life, for our customers, for our client. So yeah, like, really appreciate you coming in.
I know.
Such
an exciting space for that whole area, isn't it? Like, this time.
So many things happening, so much movement.
Just can't keep up.
And it's whether it's if you're on the ethical side of things, or the change that's happening in business, or the individuals. We were this morning went to a coffee meetup, which Digital Village does every second Friday now, which you've been to a couple of those. And it was where a company actually hosted it for us. They Got You for Life, which is all around mental health for kids and students. And the questions that kept coming up that we were looking at was around the ethical appliance of AI and digital, particularly when it comes to children, or the impact on their life and their growth. So there's all these interesting conversations that they've kind of always happened throughout the generations of digital and tech, whether it was from the first computer through to social media, through to AI, etc. But it just brings up
even
these
more
questions that you like.
Yeah, because people form relationships with some of them sometimes. Like labs.
Right?
Yes.
There's a whole episode
There's
just on talking about that one.
That's a different episode.
I would love to dive into a bit of, I wouldn't touch ethics or anything, but I'd love to dive into a lot of the stuff that you're seeing in this space right now, particularly, working with companies and the adoption of AI.
Yeah, it's been very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from an Australian perspective, one of the biggest things that we tend to hear is around that resistance, particularly active implementation of AI, more AI tooling models, even just individuals learning and utilizing to upskilling themselves. What are you seeing with a lot of the customers that you?
So I think what's really interesting is the difference between working with customers 2 years ago and now. Which is, I think, is a really good thing. So in regards to SMEs, I think SMEs have always been very receptive to AI because they've got less regulations within their own companies, right? Because they're smaller, but they also understand the uplift that it can help them with. So we've always had really good conversations with smaller companies and them wanting to actually go, oh yeah, I want to try that, I want to do that. What was harder was large organizations. And we met range everything from banks through to government, through to insurance and so forth. The large organizations in Australia. And the actual business lead, so that vertical that their business comes from, always exceedingly excited about the potential of improving how they do things within their vertical, right? Always excited. And they've got all these ideas and they're very much as to how can we do this. We ended up in two spots. One would be we would work with a division, so on business area, a vertical, and create a POC, right? And large organizations were always very comfortable with POCs because they're sandboxed, they're ring fenced, and they can test one thing. And what we found though was that once you did the POC and it usually is quite successful, we've had a lot of successful ones, the hard part would be then you would slam into compliance or legal.
I was going to say, how did
risk.
That step from, hey, we got this cool concept to then how do we get it to market?
Yeah, to actually to market.
All those little things and compliance and risk.
Exactly.
Legal.
And fair enough, I get it, because it was, at the beginning, there was a lot of, not a deeper understanding. Everyone was learning, right? We were all kind of learning. And I think division leaders, like areas and people in verticals, were excited and saw the potential, but they understood too that they couldn't do it outside of the regulatory or compliance areas of their business, the companies that they work for. But what I'm seeing now, which is really interesting, is we are now having conversations with some of these really large organizations, and they're really open to it now. And when I say larger, I mean, probably 100, maybe 50 employees, 100 through to the larger ones. Because I think, I don't know, is it because everyone...
So what shifts that mindset? What is...
Yeah, I think one, it's a couple of things, and I'd be interested to see if you agree. One is that I think they realize that, because we're almost 3 years in, that if they don't do it, they're going to fall behind, right? And I've talked to a bank as well in Australia, and they've actually got their own team internally now, their own team that is exploring AI and actually implementing it in really specific areas in their business. So I think they're getting more internal teams that are doing that. But at the same time, I am hearing about other companies where there is no AI at all in the business, right? But I think it's slowly shifting into, right, we know we need to start looking at it, but how do we do it in a smart and inverted commas safe way? So what we're finding now is that the companies that we've been talking to, we are getting past the POC, whereas before it was really difficult to. There was huge reticence. You still have to do all the, I've got to go through this data security clearance. You still have to answer all those questions and so forth, which is fair. If you're building tech, you need to be able to build tech properly. But that hasn't stopped it. They've gone, okay, well, let's see how it goes. And I think that's a huge shift in organizations, whereas before it was like, no. And which is why we changed our shift from large organizations to small organizations, because we went, hang on, why are we fighting when there's this group here that actually want it? Are you finding that too? Is that something that you're seeing as well?
Definitely. I mean, traditionally speaking, the smaller businesses have always been able to pivot a lot faster especially if you're a startup or into that scale up realm.
Yeah.
And SMEs, they can do a little bit less, but still able to pivot and move
Yeah.
around things. But yeah, once you get into the big
Yeah.
in big corporate settings, that resistance, particularly in certain industry types where there is a lot of risk around data, and
Yeah.
if you're looking at finance and legal, for example, risk and compliance is, I spoke to someone the other day, and a person who's works in legal for a lot of these organizations, a lawyer in himself, and he's like, I wouldn't touch finance with a 4-foot pole, purely because of the amount of compliance that needs to be put in place to it, and that is definitely a big part in it. I think some of the shift is also because of, finally, if you look at some of the big players that like the Salesforces and Microsoft.
Oh, they're doing it.
Because they're all doing it now, a lot of them now have access to these tools that they didn't before. So that risk kind of drops because they've already passed through their compliance protocols.
They're getting the AI add-ons from the tools they currently already
Exactly.
do.
So as long as you're within the frameworks that they already have approval for, you would tend to take that step a little bit faster, a little bit easier.
So what I find really exciting is that we're currently working for a company, for example, which is it's an SME.
Yeah.
They're not small by any means, but they're not like a large organization. But they're actually looking to augment all their processes that are very, very manual with AI, and they're looking to do it end to end. Now and it's not just like one point. They really want to do it end to end because they can actually see.
They really want to remove all the players from there.
Well, they want to
all their own teams.
Well, I mean, it's
a joke.
No, it's very manual. So it's almost like allowing their teams to do better work and service their customers better. Because in the moment, I think it's almost like the bulk of the time of their teams, their employees, their staff, are actually just doing all the manual work because of inherent in the systems that they've always had.
Very much so.
Whereas what we're helping them is uplift what that employee does. So there's so much that we can augment so that you take away all this manual, input of, one field to another and manual checking so that the AI does the bulk of that. Obviously, there's going to always have to be a human in the loop comment, but always, and for the really key points, right? So when invoices go out or when quotes go out, all the really key points still really need a person to check. But I think maybe in like 6 months' time, after they've gotten used to it, they may be checking less because they can see that consistently it's working well, right? Or it's not working well, or whatever it is, right? So that's the testing phase. But that's really exciting because they're not just, whereas the POCs were just like one really small aspect within a process, we're beginning to see that companies want to have the end-to-end process. So they want to have it all mapped up and going, well, how can we actually fix this? As opposed to just that one bit, because you fix that one bit, it's still broken downstream and upstream.
Exactly. So are these POCs, are these things that they're implementing, are we talking like they're implementing digital solutions, or you've talked about workflows or agents as well?
It basically is.
Style things.
Yeah, it depends. It just completely depends on what's required to actually help them, right? So we always start off with, understanding the experience, which is a service design, service blueprint, because that gives you that whole connection between what a customer is feeling and what kind of service they're getting, and how does it connect to the whole back-end systems and what teams do inside. So I'm sure you know about service blueprints.
Yes, we had a chat about the other week.
We love service blueprints. But then once we've mapped that out, we can actually then go, well, what is the solution? What is it that this team member needs to do a better job, a more efficient job, and actually spend less time being really manual, right? So it's also that whole workshop stuff, right? This is design. So you're working with them, you're getting solutions with them, you're identifying all that, and all that's still really important. And yeah, sure, I get AI to help me, right? Like, I mean, it cuts out, a lot of the labor up front, right? So you can get the first draft really well, or the before the first draft, but you still need to spend the time to review and make sure it's correct, right? Because it will give you an awesome stuff, but it goes, oh, hang on, I can cut out 3 steps, so you still need that understanding expertise.
Yeah.
But it's a digital, ends up being a digital solution that's AI augmented, but based on what is required to solve the problem. And then, of course, we work with partners like Mark and his team to find that solution.
Sneaky plug there, Mark.
Yeah, I did. Was that good? Was that good?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Do you think there is an easier way for these larger organizations to be able to get past that POC phase into product launch ready? Is there something that they could be doing differently to facilitate that?
Oh, gee.
Whether it's in relation to the processes that
Yeah.
you obviously run and facilitate with smaller organizations, or do we think it's something that just innately won't change?
No, I think it's going to change.
Yeah.
I do think it's going to change. I also, and look, I think, I don't know every single organization. I do think there's an interesting, I think people are still very much focused on the actual UI interface, right? The actual interface of something.
Yeah.
And obviously that's really important, because if you're selling, you know, any business, the interface to your customers is really important.
It's the first thing you see, right?
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of emphasis over the last 10 years about, you know, getting the best experience, best user experience, the best interface and all that kind of stuff, because you want to make it easy to sell, you want to make it very easy to understand, and you know, you don't have to think about it, you just press buttons and you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? But the one thing I do find interesting is that to me now is almost becoming a bit of a commodity, you know, because of Bolt and because of Lovable, because of Base 44, all right, all those plugs.
Yes.
But you know, even anyone can now create an interface. Now, it doesn't mean that
Gone are
interface
the days
is...
of SaaS products. Is what's the pending thing that everyone keeps talking about.
Yeah, but the thing is, just because those products can create a beautiful looking interface doesn't necessarily mean that it works well, right? So you still need the expertise. But I think it's what I hope that lends to is that people are beginning to move away from the interface only and thinking about how people work, right? Because AI isn't just about pressing a button, right? This generative AI augmentation is about how people work. So it's not just how your customers press buttons, it's actually how customers get your experience from point A to B to C to D to E. So you can fix the interface as much as you want, which is really easy now, right, in comparison to before. But if you don't have that process at the beginning right, they're going to struggle at E. It's like the classic kind of bank experience where, you know, you cancel an account in your bank, but it only knows the one account. It doesn't know about all the other accounts you have. Yeah. So you're like, I canceled an account. Oh no, you only canceled this savings account, right? So like that's still a bad experience. So if you want it to be improved and AI augmented, you've got to think about that CX as well as the whole service design. And it's like, what are those connecting systems and so forth? Much. It's not just augmenting one thing, I think.
So it's looking at the overall journey. So they're not necessarily that they're going to be able to break through those walls in any one particular moment, but if they look at the whole experience, they'll find better opportunities to be able to slip through and improve that. That gets them to the next step.
Yeah,
right?
You know what? I think that the moment they've built their first one and they get proof and they get adoption, I think that's when it changes. And
that's the risk. That's the risk. So there is a risk. Yeah. Take a risk to see that you can get through those risks again next time. I guess.
I was talking to an innovation lead at a bank, and basically she said they were doing AI in their bank, and they were very smart about where they started. You know, what was going to be the best thing to showcase AI, as well as so they get a win. Like, there's no point not choosing something where you're going to get a win, and where it makes the most sense and where you're going to get the highest return as soon as possible. And this one was a contact center, right? But you know, she's a service design expert, right? So she understood the whole taking everyone on the journey with her. So it's still all the same kind of rules apply to digital transformation and change.
Very much.
But I think every step that she took and could prove that little POC as part of that whole journey, I think every time she did one, it won someone over. And then she got bigger and she won something. And so I think it's going to be the same, where you do one and then the rest of the business can see that it works. I think you can start opening up.
So the story, the journey.
Yeah.
Things take a little bit longer.
POC is a Trojan.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. Draw like the stone in the water to make the ripples.
Yeah, because if it's successful.
I have a story on the flip side, a very similar thing, but like the opposite scale is I gotta be careful because I definitely can't say brands or people in this situation will get me in trouble. But they were asked to implement a similar thing, some kind of AI, because the powers that be were like, no, we need to do this. We need to show it. So the board and investment and all that type of stuff. And they're like, create an AI chat tool that'll go into this app. And they were like, but the customers don't want that. They don't like this. They need us to look at this, this, and this. We could do it better. Like, no, but do that one because that's going to look more impressive for the people we show. So they went on that journey to build the thing, and then compliance and risk got and what was supposed to be an AI tool ends up getting whittled down into this kind of little chat tool that was just
So then
became a waste, and they couldn't end up delivering on it. It's that again, it comes back to that. Didn't look at the customer journey, didn't understand the steps that need to be taken in order to implement, didn't understand the needs of the customer or the business and the tools, and you end up creating something that just doesn't work.
No. The other thing too, though, I think what's important too is who are your stakeholders that own it. And I actually do think that it needs to be the person at the top, has to own the AI vision, because if it's just somewhere halfway down the hierarchy, you're not going to get that push. I think the companies that are actually forging ahead with AI is because the CEO or the board, that really high level senior person and really up high in the company has got a vision and is actually allowing their company, their employees to do it. I think those are the really interesting companies, right? Because you're not going to get buy-in. It sounds like that one, for example, they didn't have buy-in maybe, and someone squeezed it. Right, and then you're not going to get that win.
Or even understanding. If you're talking about with innovation, kind of had understanding of the proper process and things to consider. When someone just goes, build the AI tool for the sake of it. Like,
no.
On that topic, there's something that's very interesting that I really like that we touched on the other day, was around that startup and new founder dynamics, or the ability for like individuals now, if we step away from the to be able to start doing things almost by themselves, which we couldn't do previously. You know, we always have that terminology around bootstrapping and like trying to build a startup, but then you need someone else to support you and build the tools. And it's now, I guess, what we discussed was how easy it is for us as individuals to start creating things. You know, we talked about vibe coding, businesses testing, creating POCs. How far can you get with that now?
So I really believe in the build while you're flying.
Build while you fly.
While you fly. I do not make that term.
I suppose you don't have your water in front of you, do you? Where's your...
I'll get the water. Water boy on the way. Which one is your water?
Is that your water over there?
Mine's back there. Is it going to magically appear halfway through the season?
Love it. I'll literally leave these conversations in. I want to... Feels more real, right?
This is natural.
This is natural, just the big giant eye just looking down on us is welcome to the
fun. So I think there's a huge difference now to startups or small. We call ourselves a small business, right? And the reason why we are a startup too, but we're a small business, because I think it's really different now. Because in the past, you would have a vision, you have an idea what you want to build, tech that is, and you would mock up some screens, whatever, PowerPoint or Word, maybe if you knew Figma, maybe, right? But then ultimately, to even get that in front of potential customers or users or real testers, you would have to go through these rounds of finding yourself a tech resource. How do you do that? Do you pay someone? Do you find a tech founder to join you? But you always had to have technical resource, and it took time. So startups could take a long time to get where they wanted to go, to even test whether their product is something that someone wants to buy. So I mean, I met this a guy at a networking event, and this is what he did. He basically, because he can now, he created a product a month, right? And they were all really different. They're all different things that he thought would have a solution, was a solution that someone wanted. And he made one a month, right? Now, they weren't perfect, but they were MVPs enough to sell and to market and online. Good. So he basically tested, and he said that the 6th one he built, which was month 6, was the one where he got a lot of traction. And that's what his product is right now. Now, he basically was building while he was flying. So he created something that he, on his own, that he could just test in the market and then keep iterating to see what customers want. And then once he knew it was something that had traction, he could then decide what it meant. You know, what does it mean to scale this? Do I have to help, like for example, with Wakey Wakey Sales, we think this is going to be something people want. So we built automation, right? An automation that would push out to customers something that works really well. Didn't work 100%, but it worked at 80%. But then when we did that and we started selling it, and basically we got customers and we went, okay, this is awesome, but it's not a product that's going to scale because it was automation, and you can stay in the automation. Automation is quite rock solid, right? And with a prompt, obviously in the background, having the SMS conversations, and that's a prompt where, you know, that's a prompt we keep secret because it's our prompts, right? But the automations you could build it too, right? So, but we just went, but this can't scale. So that was a decision where we went, well, what are we doing now? Do we want to actually scale it? And now it's been rebuilt in Python, but we could do it ourselves too without having to get a whole team of devs for us. So yeah, bootstrapping and getting there faster. So it's taken us, I think we started in December, so it's taken us 8 months to get to get more customers and see if it's something that really fits in the market. 8 months is pretty fast, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, to actually have customers.
100%.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I'm sure that's not something I could have done 4 years ago. Not 3 years ago, but 4 years ago. But even now, right, with things like all those Bolt, Lovable, Cursor, Windsurf, all those, and even Midjourney and all those kind of tools, you can build something as a side hustle while you're working somewhere, and you can do it yourself, and you can test it, basically, on your own, which is completely changed the landscape of what it means to be a startup. I think
even from a personal perspective, right? Again, we had this conversation. I was just the other day, I've been getting back into exercising, feeling good.
Oh yeah.
I was like, and you know what? I don't want to pay for an application. I'm already paying for these vibe coding tools.
Yeah.
I'll just query it and build my own little app.
Yeah.
So now I literally have an AI-driven workout app with all my exercises in it mapped out. I don't have to do anything. I just open it up on my Root domain and boom, my exercise is ready to go.
Next thing's going to talk to you while you're working. Come on.
You're not pushing hard.
You're not pushing hard.
Open up the camera. I block the camera. Don't you block that camera. I can see you do it. It's like, I love it.
Yeah, I think what will be interesting and it'll be good to get you and Mark's point of view is how does that change the VC scene?
Yeah.
Right? What does that mean to VCs? And I think maybe you'd ask them to get a VC on and ask them. I'd love to know, because how are they changing what they're looking for? Are they changing what they're looking for? And what does that mean going down the track, right?
It's so true, because the investment in digital tech and SaaS products, that's been the big thing. But now we're seeing people's ability to be able to make some of these products, you know, in their own bedrooms. Yeah. And so what does that mean from investment? It is an interesting
And
time.
what is the moat now as well?
Well, I mean, you can even talk to it from the perspective, obviously we're seeing lots of investment into AI products and business and infrastructure. And then if you look at the big players, it's the investment into the individuals who then build these tools as well. So the money is shifting in terms of what they're investing in. Yeah. But I definitely think that that's gonna change even more rapidly over the coming.
And there's lots, right? There's so many. I mean, I haven't seen a graph of startups lately, but if we compare the number of startups now versus the number of startups 5 years ago, I don't know many of us have. I don't have that data, but that would be probably insane, right?
Very much so.
We need to do another census.
Particularly overseas. Yeah. Don't know about Australia, but yeah, definitely overseas. You're spot on. Yeah. I'm conscious of time as we're, and I know we've got some other interviews and stuff to plan out. One final, I guess, question I'd love to know from you, like, what are some of the tooling that's taking over your life at the moment? What are the things that you're either excited about now or that you're excited about that's coming as well?
Okay. I'm currently really excited about doing more automations.
Yes.
And internal, right? So building out our own internal automations. And it's that classic thing where I'm like going, hang on, why am I doing this? I can build automation to help me do that. But you're so caught up in the product that we're doing and consulting that you forget, hey, I can automate these myself. So that's one thing that we are.
What are you using for the automations in this?
Look, it's a bit cheeky, but it depends on, look, N8N.
Yep.
But at the same time, sometimes I just get a little bit of help from, GPT. Hey, just do this whole automation for me.
Yeah. That's what it's there for. There's nothing cheeky about that.
But it's the awesome first draft,
Yep.
right? And I think you can do that for anything now. It's that awesome first draft and prompting properly.
Yeah.
The other thing that, because we want to automate our marketing more, right? At the moment, it's just too manual and we're going, what are we doing? And there's lots of resources out there too to help, right? And lots of people doing amazing things. The other thing that I think I'm going to go back into more is the imagery, like creating better imagery. I was on Midjourney for a bit on Leonardo, and then I jumped off, and now I'm like going, wow, I think if I jump back in, it's going to be really, really different now. Get some awesome products, results. And the last one is I've started working on Cursor, which has been really interesting. I do want to try Windsurf a bit more because I heard it's more, it's better for people like a total non-tech like me.
Yeah, Cursor's driven towards that.
Yeah, because it's meant to have a better interface. But I like the idea that there's still more control in Cursor. And that's an interesting thing. I think what's something that we discussed, this whole agentic era we're kind of moving into. What I find now is that I got to be careful to stop AI, right? And I think, and I'm wondering if Windsurf does that, it just runs off and does whatever it wants, right? Whereas with Cursor, I'm like, no, wait, let's start here, because I want to see what it's doing as opposed to running off and making changes everywhere. So the structure of how do I do that so I know what it's doing and what it's going to change and how it's changing things. I think what's interesting is working out how to control the results and what the inputs better so that I get what I want. But then sometimes it's good for fun, right? Serendipity. Wow, all what showed up.
I mean, and to your point around how you prompted is becoming more and more important with like some of the latest updates that have obviously come out.
Exactly.
With lots of tools, but that's really awesome. Charmaine, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolute
This has
pleasure.
been awesome.
Yeah, and we'd love to have you on for future.
I'd love to join
episodes, probably with a bit more structure and organization in terms of the
we
setup.
Like non-structure. We like non-structure.
Like no structure. We love the chaos.
I love the chaos. We love the chaos.
That's the experience.
Yes.
Any final words for anything? Just
I think we all need to have one of those little
the little Ushi things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get some.
You need to do it for all your guests.
We'll sort that out for the next one.
My next toy investment, like get a 3D printer. We can
get 3D printer.
Generate. Mark does generation.
I love it.
Export.
I love it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Okay.